I'm building my own algorithmic trading framework, a place to code and backtest trading strategies, turn them into live trading bots, and monitor everything in real time. Last episode, I loaded millions of candles into the database. But now indicator calculations take forever. Sometimes the app even crashes. So in this video, I'm building a lightweight API to make indicators fast again. I'll show you how it works and the final results, so stay tuned. I've got around 3.4 million candlesticks in the database. Most of them, about 2 million, are from EURUSD. Thanks to the lazy loading feature I've built, even that massive chart loads pretty fast. Under 4 seconds. It fetches the most recent 5000 candles, then loads more as you scroll. But indicators don't use lazy loading. Each request asks the entire series of indicator data. And calculating indicators is heavier than loading raw candles, because there's extra math involved. That's fine for a few thousand candles, but when you've got millions like for EURUSD, it becomes painfully slow. Sometimes the response is so large that the app crashes. So the plan is pretty simple. In the last episode, I already showed a small part of my future architecture. Now it's time to reveal another part of it. Meet the Indicator API, a lightweight service that can be called by the front end to get indicators and their metadata. Other services can use it too whenever they need indicator data. But just splitting it into another service isn't enough to make it faster. I'll need to add a few clever features and I'll show you what those are in just a moment. So here's how it works. I've added a new Docker container that runs the Indicator API service. The goal is to keep this module flexible. I don't want to hard-code indicator names or parameters into the database. Instead, each indicator defines its own small metadata dictionary. The Indicator API depends heavily on the database accessor API I built in the previous video. That's where it loads all the candlestick data from. But it needs to know which markets are available and how to request candles for each symbol. But here's the problem. That information almost never changes. It only updates when I add a new market, which doesn't happen often. So requesting the same information every single time is just a waste of time. Instead, the Indicator API requests that data once when the server starts and stores it in cache. On every request, the API first checks the cache, and only if the data isn't there, it fetches the data again from the database service and updates the cache. This reduces at least some overhead. Let me show you what it looks like in action. Before we jump in, this project is completely free and open source on GitHub. If you want to support my work and you are looking for a reliable broker for your trading journey, check out my affiliate partner IC Trading. There's a link in the video description, or you can scan this QR code on screen. Alright, let's see how the new API actually works. I'll use Postman to make a few requests and show you what the responses look like. The first endpoint is pretty simple. Get indicators. This returns a list of available indicators along with their names and unique IDs. That ID is important for the next request. Let's try requesting a simple moving average or SMA. To do that, I'll make a post request and include the indicator ID as a parameter. And we get an error. That's because there are two more required parameters: symbol ID and time frame. So let's add those. I'll use a symbol ID of 1, which is EURUSD, and a time frame of 1440, which means the daily candles. Now the API responds with some JSON data. We've got two main parts here, the indicator info and indicator data. Indicator info contains the metadata, things like how the indicator is plotted on the chart and which parameters can be changed, for example the window size or the source. And indicator data holds the actual indicator values. So basically which value the indicator had at each timestamp. But there's a catch. Right now the request returns all the available data, limited only by the number of candles in the database. That can be millions of data points. Not ideal. So what if we just add a limit parameter to get, say, the last 10 values? That sounds easy, but it's not that simple. Here's why. When calculating indicators, you can't just grab 10 candles and expect to get 10 data points out. Most indicators need some extra data for initialization, a warm-up phase. Let's take the SMA for example. If you want 10 SMA values and your window size is 7, you actually need 16 candles in total. 6 extra for the warm-up. That's why inside the metadata I defined something called warm-up parameters. For the SMA, it's just the window size minus 1. This tells the API how many extra candles to load behind the scenes. So if I request a limit of 3, it now returns exactly 3 SMA data points, while still loading the extra candle it needs in the background. Now, SMA is pretty straightforward. It only depends on one parameter. But let's look at something slightly more complex like the MACD. MACD has 3 parameters: fast length, slow length, and signal smoothing. The first one, fast length, is always smaller by definition than the slow length, so we can ignore this for the warm-up. Instead, I define the slow length and signal smoothing as warm-up parameters. By default, the warm-up window is calculated as the maximum of those parameters. But with MACD, one output is the input of another, so we need a longer warm-up phase. In this case, we use the sum of both values instead. That's handled by the warm-up mode setting, which I can set to sum. And just like that, the MACD also supports limited requests. Now there is one last problem. We obviously don't always want the most recent data points. For that, there's another parameter called endDate. Using it, we get the last X data points up until the end date, excluding the end date itself. That's how the indicator API works. Now that the API works, let's hook it up in the frontend. When I open the indicator modal in the app, it now makes a call to the new indicator API to fetch all available indicators and their IDs. Once that data is loaded, I can pick one, let's say the SMA again, and when I click on it, the frontend sends a new request with the limit of 5,000 to get the most recent data points. And you can see what happens here. As I scroll through the chart, 2 things happen in the background. One request goes to the database accessor API to load more candles. And another request goes to the indicator API to load the matching indicator values. Everything now loads smoothly. No lag, no timeout, and most importantly, the app doesn't crash anymore when requesting large indicator datasets. That's a huge improvement, both in reliability and performance. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a like or drop a comment, it really helps me out. And if you want to support my work, check out my affiliate partner IC Trading with the link in the video description. See you in the next one.